Every single episode that I watch, I keep thinking to myself, it is so true that the Ghoul, they need to give Walton Goggins his own show, just showing like the rise and fall and everything in between of the Ghoul, um, because his backstory is fascinating and what led him eventually to the point where he is now. Anyway, we're going to spoil everything moving forward. So if you haven't watched the episode yet, now's the time to pause, go away, watch it, come back. I am running behind because I didn't binge it. Just doing one episode a day. So I've got one more episode to go after this one. So we're almost to the end. It's been a wild ride. You've had your spoiler alert. We're going to be moving into spoiler territory. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Final warning, and we're off. So the flashback sequence here with the Ghoul care with Cooper's character is him initially having an argument with the lady who is apparently the living flame, Moldaver. He has an argument with her in his timeline because she appears to be so anti Vault-Tec, and he feels Vault-Tec has done good things for my family. My wife works there, but there's still like that nagging fear that he has about things like you're not allowed to take a dog and you've got to wear the jumpsuits. And he's like, who's making up these rules? Who's controlling these things? I fought in the war to preserve our freedoms, and now I'm being told I'm not going to have my freedoms if I'm going to live in these vaults. So he's got questions, and he sees his wife like sort of blindly following, or at least in his eyes, she's blindly following along with whatever Vault-Tec tells her, not knowing that she's taking orders. And this other woman, explains to him that your wife is not who you think she is, and she's done some very bad things. I'd like to show you what these things are. I'd like to convince you to put this listening device into her Pip-Boy and spy on her for us. And of course, he just doesn't want to do it, but he still takes the listening device, goes home, is very tortured about it, eventually puts it in her Pip-Boy, then throws it in the trash, changes his mind, and then wakes up in the middle of the night, he can't sleep, and he decides to go back out to the trash and get it. We don't know yet what he has heard, but yeah. That is also, we're seeing in the past, he had a dog, and there is a scene here where the Squire guy, whose name is it Thaddeus, who got his foot smashed and took the head and ran off and left Max for dust. The dog's been following with him, and he gets to this place where he meets the chicken fucker, and that guy tells him, "Hey, I can fix your foot," and he gives him a concoction. His foot heals. Later on, we realize that he's been turned into a ghoul and he can't die. But he has the dog. He ends up putting the dog in a container, a freezer, to keep it out of the way, and the ghoul finds it, and there's a bonding sequence between the ghoul and the dog where he's like, dog meat, you ain't him. But he feels some sort of a kinship, but he doesn't want to get close to this dog because it's not the dog that he's remembering in his flashback. So it's like the first human moment we've seen from the ghoul in the whole show, where he's having an honest conversation with the dog. So that was very interesting. The Lucy and Max sequence ends up resolving itself. They basically sentence her to banishment in the realm above, believing that it's a death sentence because they don't realize that the world above can be survived. So they go out. He originally steals their reactor to power his armor, but then Lucy convinces Max to give the power core back, which leaves the power armor stranded. They eventually catch up with the Squire guy, and he's has a shootout with them. And then as they're having this shootout and he realizes that he's out of ammo, here comes these copters from the Brotherhood. There's 3 of them. And there's this moment where he stumbles backwards and takes an arrow through the neck and doesn't die, pulls the arrow out and he heals, and that's when he realizes that he's now a ghoul. So the concoction that the chicken dude gave him in the desert had some unexpected side effects. The guy did do what he said he was going to do. He healed his foot, any price. And the price he took, I forgot to say, was he took the original power core. So that suit of armor is stranded. And this is where we get this. I understand why it's there, but it's one of the least favorite things I have about the show so far. It's my only real complaint is this burgeoning relationship between Max and Lucy. I just feel it's contrived. That's not to say I don't love the show. and I realize why it's there. But it felt really awkward when they're like doing this final sequence of like he's like the Brotherhood's here for the head. He gets another head and he smashes his face in and he gives the real head to Lucy and tells her to run, go back home, whatever you're gonna do. I'll take this head and I'll draw them off so that you can find your dad and all this other stuff. But it's also I think the most important thing for me is not that relationship. It's the moment that it gives Max to confess to Lucy that he's not the good guy that she thinks he is, and he actually tells her the truth. He tells her the truth about Titus and everything else, and she still accepts him and is happy to be with him. Offers to give him a safe place in her vault. She says, "You should come live with me." And originally they think they're going to do that until the Brotherhood shows up, and sort of the end of this is quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. Seeing the Brotherhood copters come down as he goes off to deliver this head to them and hopefully survive. We don't know if they're going to execute him or what's going to go on. We just don't know what's going to happen with that yet. Meanwhile, I just don't know. I'm trying to think to myself how this could potentially wind up. Because we've only got, one episode left to go. So I just don't see how we're going to get resolutions to anything in the 8th episode because we've only got one more to go. And it was during this episode, because one of the things that struck me was back in the vault sequences with Norm, and we realized that this Overlord lady, Overseer, sorry, definitely Overlord, as she splits the population up and goes, puts a portion of them in the 32. While that's taking place, Norm sneaks back. More important fact, the blonde girl with the one eye gets elected as interim overseer of the new Vault 32 area, and it's like she's from Vault 31. So Norm sneaks back in the overseer's office, and they actually show some of the hacking from the game, which is really cool, as he hacks into the terminal, and he sends a message to Vault 31 pretending like he's Betty, and they open the doors, and he goes down a hall, and then he finds, like, I think a robot or something on the floor, but it fades to black, so we never see what that's going to be. So I don't know how we're going to get any major resolutions in the final episode, but what struck me was the similarities between Westworld, the end of the first season of Westworld, and the end of this first season. Because in the end of Westworld, like, it was alluded to, but we didn't actually know that there were other worlds until I think it was the end of season 1. We got reference to the samurai world and all these other worlds. And they're doing something very similar here with the vaults, where every vault does a different thing, and it's like its own different biome and its own different experiment, which is super creepy. Haven't figured out how all this is working yet, but we know that Vault Tech is not a good organization, and somehow they've, I don't know where the higher ups would be at this point 200 years in the future, if they're still surviving somewhere in the cities. I don't know. I'm really intrigued. So it looks to me like they've already got the next seasons mapped out, and the fact that they're going to leave season 1 on such a cliffhanger suggests to me that they're definitely going to be bringing it back for a season 2. Could be wishful thinking, but I think that's going to be the case. Anyway, one more episode to go. That'll be airing tomorrow. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Check the playlist below if you've missed any of the episodes, and hopefully we'll see you over on Twitch as well for the live streams every day between here and there. And I'll see everybody in the Patreon and the Discord. Stay safe. Happy viewing.